We told you earlier this week about administration plans to revamp the nation's military command for offensive and defensive cyber operations. But there is still plenty for private business to do to deal with the growing cyber threat. Here to talk about that tonight is Kiersten Todt, Managing Director of the Cyber Readiness Institute and former Executive Director of the President's Commission on Enhancing National Cybersecurity. Kiersten, thanks for coming back. Okay. You're starting the Institute today.
We launched it today.
And
yes.
It's the evolution of that commission, right?
Exactly. So the Cyber Readiness Institute is a joint initiative between the Center for Global Enterprise and the Center for Responsible Enterprise and Trade. And it's an offshoot, it's an evolution from the commission. And as you know, Sam Palmisano, the Vice Chair of the Commission, and I were here in December to talk to you. Former CEO of IBM, to talk to you about the report that we had just presented. And so there were two primary objectives following the submission of the report. The first was to work with the incoming administration and discuss with them, brief them on the recommendations that we had developed. And the second was to develop an entity that could take the recommendations and essentially work off of them. And so we've created the Cyber Readiness Institute, and four of the individuals and institutions who were involved in the commission: Sam Palmisano from IBM, Ajay Banga, the CEO of MasterCard, Penny Pritzker, who served as the U.S. Secretary of Commerce and is now chairman of PSP Capital Partners, and Satya Nadella from Microsoft, are the co-chairs for this institute. And the objective of the institute is to convene global leaders across sectors to share best practices on how to manage people, processes, and technology for effective cyber risk management.
Here's what the White House said back in May when all of this was going on.
I think the trend is going in the wrong direction in cyberspace, and it's time to stop that trend and reverse it on behalf of the American people. The United States invented the internet, and it's time to maintain our values on it. But it also speaks to a deterrence policy which has long been overdue. And so the Russians are not our only adversary.
So where are we on cybersecurity? Obviously, a lot of the news is focused on Russia and what happened during the election. But every day, our institutions are under attack.
Right. And so the President Trump issued an executive order back in May, and it took a lot of these different issues. One of the key issues that we identified with the Commission was the security of small and medium-sized businesses. So when you look at global companies like MasterCard and Microsoft, they're part of value chains. So there are a lot of small and medium-sized businesses that have to manage cyber risk management, and their security, the interdependencies of their security directly links to those larger companies. So the focus of the Institute, to answer your question, is really looking at how do we secure the small and medium-sized businesses, the weakest links, to ensure that our industry, as well as our government working with those businesses, can be secure.
So Capitol Hill has to do something else, I'm guessing. Yeah. The largest internet hacks, we had 1 billion Yahoo accounts hacked in 2013, 500 million Yahoo accounts in 2014, 360 million MySpace accounts, also back in 2013, and 100 million LinkedIn accounts. Since then, you've seen a lot of companies falling victim to attacks from hackers all over the world.
And there will continue to be many. And so the key here is resiliency. We hear this concept in different ways. We talked about it in the Commission. President Trump talked about it in the executive order. But the idea is there are elements that can be taken in a cyber risk management approach to create a secure infrastructure for a company. But part of that is educating the people that are involved. And the idea here is if you create that secure infrastructure, if you educate people, then you're going to minimize the attacks that are coming at you from a low-hanging fruit perspective. But the challenge that we have often is that we think a breach is a sign of failure. And if we have that mentality, it's like the Titanic. If we think we're never going to sink, then when something does happen, we're not prepared. We have to develop a concept and a culture of security that ensures that when we do get attacked, when something does happen, we actually contain it and we can minimize the disruption to our systems, whether it's a small company, a small government, or a large enterprise, or the federal government, because we will get attacked and things will happen, but we have to manage the effects of that attack.
I mean, the news this week was that the consideration of taking the Cyber Command out of the National Security Agency, the NSA, which raises a lot of different questions on government side, but on the business side, there's a lot more to do.
There's a lot more to do, and it raises the issue of industry-government collaboration. And so government does incident response really well. What we've had challenges with is what happens before an event. And so having government, senior leaders of government, work together with senior leaders of industry before an event so the relationships are built. You talk about training, exercising, taking pages out of the Pentagon playbook for how to work together. Then when something happens, all the right people are at the table, and information sharing is a byproduct of those relationships and that trust.
That takes action on Capitol Hill.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Kiersten, thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Brett.